Welcome back to Metaphysical Girl, a podcast about art and esoterica. I'm your host, Saint, and this is the audio companion to a piece I published on Substack called Narcissus in Latex. It's ostensibly about FIT's Dress, Dreams, Desire, Fashion and Psychoanalysis exhibit, but it's really about queering psychoanalysis, the revolutionary power of the hungry gaze, and the psychosexual allure of a single pair of velvet gloves. If you like Jung and Galliano and Victorian erotica, you'll like this one. Check out the link to the original piece in the show notes or subscribe on Substack to saint.substack.com. Without further ado, let's step into the metaphysical world together. There's a new free-of-charge journey into symbolism, fetishism, and fashion drawing hungry eyes at the border of Chelsea and Flatiron. FIT's Dress, Dreams, and Desire, Fashion and Psychoanalysis. Curated by museum director Valerie Steele, the exhibition features almost 100 items of dress from iconic designers. Steele's appearance on NymphEd Alumni is a great introduction to the high points of her exhibition and offers a deeper dive into her work in curation and her relationship with the work of Freud. If you can, go into the exhibition blind and listen to the episode after your walkthrough. I arrive at 3 p.m. on a Saturday, jogging down the interior stairwell into a quiet, dim basement. The introductory gallery sketches the world and work of Sigmund Freud before clipping through the evolution of psychoanalysis into the 20th century. The main gallery is more dreamlike, a maze of dark, matte corridors, twisting and turning towards spotlighted marvels of fashion, creating the sensation of wandering the shadowy hallways of the mind. Despite how gloriously close you can get to the clearly lit garments to observe every stitch, the exhibition casts a Vaseline lens spell. Things always get hazy when Freud and sex enter the conversation, but that haze can give permission to greater intimacy even in small talk. And so I took a great pleasure in eavesdropping on the crowd. Two men delightedly debate in Spanish about Dior, a trio of fashion students grin at 18th century corsets, and a pair of women peer at a pair of Lanvin Tremplol illusion heels, which feature a false, flesh-colored leg built into a black stiletto. "Like Mary Jane's, how cute," one of them coos. She tosses a wary glance at the item exhibited beside the shoes. "I don't like the Medusa bag, though. It's kind of scary." The Medusa bag in question is, of course, a bright red Versace evening bag from 1991, emblazoned with a gold relief of their iconic Medusa logo. Compared to many other items on display, the bag is markedly tame. Or perhaps I've become so accustomed to seeing the high fashion logo everywhere that she's lost the arresting potency Gianni Versace hoped to capture by immortalizing her face. I linger with her for a moment, trying to hold her gaze. It makes me feel a little bit naked to be looked at so directly, a little like I am subject to whatever this Gorgon desires from me, and a little like I might be tempted to do whatever exactly she wishes. Much of this exhibition, as well as much of psychoanalytic theory around sex, is preoccupied with looking and being looked at. Women's wasp-waist Victorian gowns are displayed beside a pair of opera glasses, through which, the placard narrates, theater-goers could get a better look at not only the show, but other audience members. It's theater within theater, women putting on gowns to look at actors donning costumes, while men dressed in respectable suits sneak peeks at those very women, who in turn observe their voyeurs. Eroticism is often at its most powerful when it is indirect. Like Moses hidden in a cliffside, permitted only to look upon the divine's afterglow as it passes him by, but never its true face, we often cannot gaze directly into the eyes of what it is we long for, not without being burned in some way. And in just the same way a body can, and often does, feel even more erotically charged when it is provocatively dressed instead of totally naked, desire thrives in denial and obfuscation. Materiality and fantasy are not each other's opposite, but each other's fuel. The most impactful element of this exhibition is, for me, the mirrored boxes in which fetish objects are displayed at roughly eye height. I draw close to marvel at a pair of ultra-high antique heels only to see my own face, breathlessly delighted by beauty, flushed with sexual interest, alight with intellectual curiosity, staring back at me. For one moment, before my brain fully calibrates, I am both autonomous subject and eroticized object, peeping Thomasina and spotlit showgirl. The mirror confronts me with the naked hunger of my own looking, and the preening pleasure that flits across my face when I realize I am also being looked at. The same magic trick is pulled by another mirrored box in which gloved mannequin hands reach out as though aching for embrace. The fetishist gaze is more familiar to me here. Gloves feature in some of my earliest cinematic sexual awakenings. From the Phantom welcoming Christine into his mirror world with a black leather-clad hand, to the anonymous helping hands which slow Sarah's fall with greedy, grasping grips on her body in Labyrinth, to the dark shadow self, clad in body-hugging, head-to-toe black, who seduces Lily in Legend. Gloves have always excited me. At the fetish heel box, I thought about the discomfort I would have to endure in order to have a kind of sexual power over a specific kind of man by wearing those shoes. At the glove box, I revel in the warm recognition and erotic kinship kindled within me. To put it more simply, the shoes interest me, but the gloves turn me on. You know what it's like to feel turned on, don't you? How it's so much more than, and sometimes wholly different from, being aroused. It's that whole body sense of awakeness, a crackle of electricity up your spine, or a purring hum in the base of your belly, or a pleasant tingle across the skin. It's a sharpening of presence, carnal as well as intellectual. I follow that live wire sense of awakeness through the exhibition, wondering, why gloves? I spend a lot of time studying my own sexual interiority as well as other people's. It's literally my job between writing this newsletter and gothic erotic romance novels, but it's still a sticky thought exercise. I find the answer lies, again, with the gaze. I like sunglasses too, I recall. I like it when the most welcoming, vulnerable parts of the body, naked eyes and bare hands, are hidden from me. That hiding only demands more of my attention, heightens my desire to see what is beneath, or, perhaps, my desire simply to be held in the tension of being denied the intimacy of skin on skin or sightline to sightline. Once again, what is hidden by items of dress is so much more intriguing than naked flesh. Hi, beauty. Saint here with a quick reminder that Metaphysical Girl is supported by readers and listeners just like you. So if you like what you're hearing, please like and follow this podcast on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe at saint.substack.com. That is where the Metaphysical Girl community lives. And if you subscribe, you get access to my newsletter, to any free podcast episodes. And if you are on the paid tier, you also get twice monthly long-form essays on sexuality, spirituality, esoterica, and art, as well as Metaphysical Girl After Dark episodes. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your support. Sometimes it's easy to find connections between our childhood traumas or emotional needs and what turns us on. Other times, all our little fetishes are delightfully mysterious. However, the exhibition does its best to offer Freud as a starting framework for understanding why it is we like what we like. I'll admit my mild disappointment that most of the theories referenced were Freudian or Lacanian, with only the briefest gesture towards my pet favorite Jung and a nod early on towards Fanon. Perhaps for these reasons, the exhibition was neither very archetypally informed nor very engaged with the symbolically and sociologically racialized body. Deeper engagement with Fanon's work might have better set up some exhibits, like the Moschino chocolate bar wrapper dress, which Jeremy Allen sent down the runway on a black model, for discussion about the dually fetishized and marginalized black body within our national neuroses. However, I'm out of my depth in that particular area of study, so I'll leave discussion in the capable hands of Black fashion journalists and historians. The exhibit weaves fluidly around Freud's foundational theory of man as fetishist seeking sexual satisfaction in the material and external, and woman as narcissist, sexually satisfied only by the image of herself and the pleasure she takes in being gazed upon by others. Perhaps we all have a little bit of the fetishist and a bit of the narcissist in us, the exhibition suggests. This certainly bore out with my dual experiences with the mirrored fetish boxes, but the dissolution of duality seems to stop there. Dress, Dreams, Desire isn't overly concerned with the nuances of queer desire. Although homosexual fashion signifiers in the work and lives of famous homosexual designers are mentioned, queer erotics and their various lenses remain absent. As I drift back towards the introductory gallery, tempted by one final glance into Medusa's eyes, I wonder, could the pink backless Galliano suit mean something different to a gay man than a straight one? Does the Schiaparelli power jacket armored with mirrors reflect the lesbian gaze differently than the gaze of a heterosexual woman? Would a theoretical, phallic woman and the sublimated desire she ignites in men have different connotations to a trans woman than a cis woman? Identity and desire remain as complex as ever, bound together within each of us like silk stitched to silk to create a bespoke gown. It's difficult to see the parts that make the whole unless you were there for its creation. A crucial engine of Eros is our roaming gaze, the way the penetrating look of desire can be in so many places at once, within and without us and the other. The desirous gaze is hermaphroditic in ways most bodies are not. Sometimes voyeur, sometimes exhibitionist, sometimes possessive, sometimes passive. In a culture increasingly distrustful of sexual fluidity, this feels revolutionary. What kind of radical self-knowledge and compassionate engagement with the other is possible when repression melts under desire's heated gaze? What would the world be like if our darker impulses towards domination and violence found better expression in the theater of kink than the theater of war? In seminary, I took a class on sexuality and the Christian body with Dr. Robert Dijkstra. He was influenced by Freud and firmly believed that ethical, compassionate, fully human pastoral care must include a love for and comfort with human sexuality. When faced with awkwardness or arguments from some of us on the challenging curriculum days, often when we were viewing material including naked bodies, he would say in a gentle and utterly permitting voice, "Humans like to look. It's okay to look." It's such a simple thing to tell another person, but the honesty and neutrality of the statement are often absent in our modern sexual culture. "We like to look" has become a mantra for me, a reminder of the deep creatureliness of our desire to see and be seen. Looking, especially when all parties involved are aware they're being looked at, is one of our most powerful forms of erotic connection. We're doing it every day, all the time, on so many levels at once. And what we wear is a huge part of the nonverbal conversation. As I make my way out of the museum, I pass the pair of women again, already onto their debrief as they head towards the door. "Freud is whatever," one of them sighs. "It's always mother's fault with him." Their footsteps recede as I linger by the Versace handbag. Among all these objects that invite us to look with our hungry eyes, Medusa alone gazes back at the viewer with her penetrating, petrifying gaze, a symbol of the desired and reviled monstrous feminine, surely, but also a human monstrously objectified, honing her own gaze into power, into the ultimate act of looking. It's a gaze that pierces right to the heart of you, into the most repressed yearnings in the shadowiest parts of your mind. I have no illusions about the legacy of Freud, or the way that modern social theorists use him to perpetuate abuse. That woman was right. It's often mother's fault, and almost always a woman's. Still, as I emerge into the crisp autumn air of New York City, I wonder if there can't be something deeply transformative about submitting ourselves to the gaze of others, about holding others within our desirous sight. We're all always doing a little bit of power play when it comes right down to it. Maybe the visual spectacle of fetish and fashion allows us to more deeply engage with what turns us on and submit ourselves more fully to the transformative power of Eros before we, or perhaps without ever needing to, touch the skin of the person wrapped in latex or lace or leather. Wearing While Writing, Dreamers by Moth and Rabbit. A bouquet of first crush florals, vintage aldehydes on powdered skin, plasticky vanilla shampoo bottles, transgressive 60s sexuality wrapped in incense, patchouli, and woody musk. It smells like wearing your mother's high heels to your best friend's house and hoping her father notices. If you enjoyed this essay, consider subscribing for even more art reviews and cultural criticism, meditations on sexuality and spirituality, or confessions in the nightclub bathroom style personal essays. As a working writer, your support is the vital lifeblood of my writing. Be safe and well until we two meet again.